Hi everyone, it is September 18th, 2013. You can see the first signs of fall kind of spackling the yard here. A few yellow leaves that are coming down, and the wind too is sort of an indicator of that coming up. I must apologize, my house is really a mess right now, but I wanted to do just a quick overview because I promised Rose a surprise and over the weekend, and today I have been reading a book on NLP. Oh sorry, it's going blurry on me, but there's nothing I can do. I'm about 75% through, and I've taken copious notes on this. Some of this is also from an economics book that I'm reading, but I find this quite useful. It's not really one of the professional full-on course material type books, but this lady appears to be something of an expert in the UK, Wendy Jago, and I'm definitely under the impression that this is much bigger in the UK than the US, because I had really not heard of neuro-linguistic programming in a colloquial sense in my lifetime in the US. But I took some notes, and I think some of the most interesting concepts have to do with how people view time. It's divided into two segments, through time and in time. If you are a through time oriented person, you are a little bit more disconnected from what's happening. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's interesting exploring exactly where you view time, like when you think of the past, where it is spatially and which direction it is. And I will just say that if you're in time, you have a very linear perspective of that, where it's directly behind you if it's the past, or directly in front of you if it's in the future, and that sort of affects the spontaneity and reflective capacities you have. And whether you are I have to say that I've been reading this a little bit superficially because I'm very distracted right now. I am supposed to be overseeing the VIP lounge area where people have paid $200 a ticket, and overall the Mother Earth News Fair that we are going to in Pennsylvania is expecting about 13,000 people and 376 vendors over a sprawling resort. So it's a little bit of a big undertaking, even though I personally did not create the event or organize it in any way. Anyway, back to NLP. The concepts of modeling and the mental maps that you have and the filtering that you do throughout the day is really interesting. I've already given some thought to this, and I'm trying to think of some other highlights I've written down. There's a lot of emphasis on trying to separate language that might be self-directed and coming from within versus the types of techniques that are being used on us all the time, because as Rose says, there is awareness of how to master these techniques through advertising, propaganda, and almost every aspect of our lives. And so I'm not really surprised at that. And then this kind of made me start thinking of the different I would say of the developed countries in the world, there are essentially three different archetypes. There is, and I don't know why this stimulated this thought, but I guess it made me start thinking of sales techniques that I have used and how economies operate, since that's how my brain is tilted. So basically you have the United States American economy, which has to do with concentrating on highlights and a lot of repetition, and basically kind of doing everything on economy of scale. And for this reason, I think that our numbers will always be more impressive over here, and I mean that in terms of deliverables, economic data, employee engagement, and so forth, because the techniques that we are more drawn to are friendly to that. Then you have Asia, where there are really elaborate explanations and visuals and enhancements of things that take place, but it's very superficial. And so you're going to have more demonstrative NLP techniques used on people there, I guess. And this makes it seem like there's more of a buzz going on there, but actually it's kind of hollow. And then I've lumped Canada and Europe into one because there is more of an emphasis on long-range satisfaction and clear deliverables. It's kind of vulnerable in this globalization stage that we're in. And I don't know, I think that maybe the people there, because of this kind of underpinning structure to everything, are more resistant to programming in a lot of ways than people in Asia or the United States. And I noted that like all places are becoming more alike. So that's just sort of my spin and my way of coloring what I learned from NLP so far. And also the concept of being toward versus away from. And it's really hard to break this down to someone who's just watching a short clip. But most people are either moving towards quite big goals, or they get satisfaction from avoiding trouble. And I think that that's kind of my proclivity, is the latter of those two. So you have planners versus people who are not planning, and the way of breaking that down is if you are more focused on delivery or deliverance. So in the long and the short of it, I do recommend looking into this and just sort of seeing what your tendencies are. And the goal of NLP, from what I gather, is not to change who you actually are, but to recognize situations where your natural inclinations are more valuable and when other strategies could be employed, and basically maximizing opportunities that way instead of being pigeonholed into a particular role or outlook. And I just really could not find very much on NLP here in the U.S. They were all sort of, well, and again, it really explains like how the mainstream U.S. market is very buzzword-oriented and very self-help, business-driven, and kind of looking for the lowest common denominator, very simple ways of breaking this down. And this kind of, sorry to like so focus on marketing and business, but this book was produced in the UK, and then another inroad to the American market is, if you look at the explanation from the back and then also throughout the text, never once does it explicitly say that it's from the UK. There's a reference to Sussex University, and then some of the terminology like being made redundant. We don't say that in the US, really, even though people might know what you mean. Here it's just platitudes and like very simplified ways of approaching things, because everyone wants to achieve a large market share based on generalities. And then once you have someone, then you can take advantage of that market capture and refine and upsell someone that way. And I've realized that in my own role here. So I guess maybe I'm identifying aspects of NLP. And Rose, I still recommend going to the Celestine Prophecy series, because I think that it will be quite compatible with your training in NLP, both as a trainer and the trained. Anyway, I will try to film something from the Mother Earth News Fair in Pennsylvania for your benefit. It's quite a large cultural event in the zeitgeist of the moment. And I've converted to a smartphone. I'm not spending as much time on YouTube. I am able to film with the smartphone, but because it's an Android type, I've discovered that it's not compatible with uploading to YouTube, so we've missed out on a little bit more high quality clips that way. Best wishes to everybody. Please do check out some of my other clips, particularly on the German election. Looks like something of a landslide is underway. Thanks for watching. Bye.